So we've had the DJI Action 2 for about a couple weeks now. We've been testing it out and we have some concluding thoughts about it.
So the camera is quite ambitious and it comes with all kinds of modules. And it's a good try, honestly. But after trying it out for a while, we found out that it kind of misses on some points. And it's also interesting in others that they made certain choices. So let's break it down.
So first of all, it's not a bad camera. I actually think it's a really good camera, considering the build quality is really nice. The image quality, it's disputable. I think it's okay, but that's a point that we disagree on. And but I don't think it's a true continuation of the original DJI Osmo Action, which is what a lot of you are saying, that you wanted the original Action, and this is a complete departure from that camera, which is totally true. So in that sense, I do wish that they had branded it something different, like DJI Mod Camera or something, because that's truly what it is. It's its own unique camera. It's not an actual continuation of the original Osmo Action.
Yeah, and that's an interesting choice they made, because it makes me think they didn't succeed as much as they wanted to in competition with GoPro. Basically, they went and tried to replicate the GoPro, plus they added the front screen before GoPro did, and yet it seems like not enough people bought it for them to continue it. And they redesigned it completely. It's not even compatible in any way, right? It's a total remake.
Yeah.
And now it's more similar to the Insta360, right? The modular one.
Yeah, the Insta360 One R, which I will be doing a comparison between the DJI Osmo Action and the Insta360 One R, because they're both modular, but there are actually some big differences between the two. And I actually think Insta360 does a better job with modularity, because they offer you different lenses to interchange. And DJI right now is not offering that. They actually don't make a 360 camera that I know of, so I don't know if they're ever gonna offer lenses as different mods. The only mod that I'm seeing is the option to add an extra screen or add an extra battery, which is kind of nice, so you can build your own camera, so to speak. But the problem is you can't use the little camera mod by itself. And if you had been able to do that, it would have been a really successful iteration of the GoPro Session, which is what a lot of you are saying, that you wish GoPro would go back and make a Session. And DJI, I think, had an opportunity to do that, but they didn't quite go all the way with it.
And that's really strange, because at first people did get excited that they get something like the Session, like a little block, you know, they can plant anywhere, do anything with. But it turns out it's not useful that way. In the case of DJI, you have to have the extra module for some things.
Yeah, if you want to charge the camera mod and have a SD card in the mod or in the camera, then you have to connect the two. So you can sort of use the camera standalone, but at some point, if you ever want to charge it, then you have to add the secondary block. So it can't function independently.
Yeah, that's a miss, because otherwise people would have bought it just because of the form factor that doesn't exist anymore in its competition.
Yeah.
And there are many use cases for people. So anyway, those two are interesting choices. So instead, what do they get right in this case?
I do think that, again, the build quality of the camera is really nice. It feels really good. I don't know how it's going to hold up over time, because it already kind of scratches pretty easily. And the LCD is nice. It's really big. It fills the whole screen, so you don't have any wasted space. But it is a little bit deceptive, because it's showing you like the screen of a square, but you're not shooting a square video. You're actually shooting like a 16:9 or a 4:3 video. So you're only seeing a little crop of what you're actually shooting. So that can make it a little bit tricky in terms of composition. But I do think it's nice that they give you an LCD that fills the whole screen. Yeah, the camera itself, like the whole touch screen, it works really well. The menu system is really intuitive. Image quality, I think is pretty good, but Martin doesn't really think so, so that's kind of disputable. But let's talk about that actually really quick.
Yeah, so the image quality is good. However, it has two major flaws, maybe three. And number one, it's wobbly. It's a lot wobblier than the GoPro, and it doesn't then serve you as well being your go-to or number one camera, you know, the one that you take the major part of your story with.
One thing though with the stabilization, so it does have the Rocksteady, it's a second iteration of Rocksteady, and I did notice that when I was running and doing like an action shot with the Action 2, I thought it actually stabilized pretty well. So if you're doing action, it looks pretty stable, but the thing is, if you look at some of our test vlog footage, when I'm picking up the camera sometimes and like moving it around, it has a little wobble. So yeah, it's like related to stabilization, but not quite.
Yeah, it's basically how their stabilizing algorithm works. It makes it look like a boat.
Yeah.
You're in a boat, right? You're kind of fluidly moving around instead of just making it actually steady.
GoPro does that a lot better, by the way. Hypersmooth
Exactly.
is really, really good.
Yeah, and that's major when you're making movies out in the field all day like we do. The other thing about the image quality is that in most modes that I've seen, and probably maybe all, it has a lot of distortion. Like battle distortion is hardcore, where your arms appear like super long and stuff like that. So that also would distort your whole movie, and again, to me, it's not suitable for the kind of videography or filmmaking that we make.
Quick note though, there are 3 different sort of lens choices that are built into the Action 2. So you can have like the super wide, which gives you the super bendy kind of warped look. You can go wide, which is a little bit less bendy, and then they do have a standard D-warp, which is kind of like linear on the GoPro.
Yeah, the other thing is that, while DJI has a good look, I like their look. They aim for kind of like this bit of a film look and blah, blah, blah. However, what they don't get quite right is people. You know, when you point it at people, they look a bit strange. They may look like they have 5 more years older or something than other cameras make them look. And basically, GoPro and Fuji, for example, are the ones we use for that, and they make skin and faces much softer, nicer, more appealing, and just with no grading at all.
Yeah, so if you guys don't already know, we use our Action cameras to vlog mostly, so that part is actually very important to us, to make us look good on camera.
Well, at least fast and easy, because we also shoot many clips a day in different locations. We don't have time for setup, you know.
Yeah.
And we don't set up at all, we just go. And for that, we need a camera that can do it right away instead of have to go through a workflow every time. With all that considered, it looks like DJI has decided to even not compete against GoPro for the Action camera and made a different kind of modular camera, and is competing against Insta and maybe some others out there, which is an interesting choice. And it means GoPro remains undisputed in this field. In my opinion, it's because it's nice and easy. You can just grab it and go, and it's like a unit, and you're basically able to tell your stories or even perform all kinds of actions, do whatever you want. It's the most enabling camera right now.
Yeah, I would say by going modular, they are complicating their camera quite a bit. It's also introducing more pieces that you can either lose or break, and so it makes it a lot harder to shoot with a modular camera. But I am really interested to see how they're going to keep building out that modularity. I hope that they do, and I hope that the mods that they currently came out with are not the only ones, and that they might actually have a good future for this camera, but it's really hard to say. At the moment, I agree that, you know, the GoPro, especially the Hero 10, I still think is the best GoPro ever made, despite some of the issues that we've been having with it. You know, the #1 reason why we stick with GoPro is not only ease of use, but also just the image quality. It's the very best out of any Action camera, and the Action camera is just our choice camera when it comes to vlogging out there.
Yeah, because we like to do things as we go. You know, we're always somewhere else doing something else, and we need that ease and the good look that comes out of it that by now GoPro has really perfected. You know, it used to be like, oh, the GoPro look, but that's no longer a thing. Actually, if you look at our travel channel, we seamlessly quite these days blend GoPro with Fuji and make it TV quality, in my opinion. Many people compliment the quality of our movies, and they're predominantly now shot on a GoPro.
So if you're on the market for the very best Action camera that you're going to use for vlogging, I think that GoPro is the undisputed leader here, especially that Hero 10. Despite all the problems, again, that's our choice camera. When it comes to the best Action camera, I still think GoPro's on top, because I don't know if we can really call the DJI Action 2 an Action camera. The main reason being that you have to put that camera inside of a waterproof housing in order to get the waterproof and crush-proof kind of functionality out of that camera, which is something that you no longer have to do with GoPro. And also the stability isn't so great on it. And yeah, it just makes you wonder, is this even an Action camera?
It is not, because you also have to fiddle with it to make modular extensions happen and blah, blah, blah. And mounts, you gotta interchange and all this crazy stuff, where when you're doing Action, you don't want to fiddle. And that's my main problem with this approach. I want to grab and go. And that's what you would need for an Action cam, or even your main just storytelling camera.
Yeah, so for the best Action camera, again, GoPro, especially that Hero 10, or even Insta360 One R or the Insta360 Go 2. Those are both very good Action cameras that are a little bit easier to use, and I think actually have better image quality.